Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Morning, everybody.
Chris Carr is here.
Hello, everyone.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics that we have lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to discuss, as long as we deem it appropriate to be discussed, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And if you send it in while we're on doing the show live, we'll get around to it in the second part of the show. But here's the good news. The tip link is actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our podcast feed a little bit later, say on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're watching the show a little bit later in the day when we're not actually live, you can still send in a topic or question, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down, let's jump into it here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. It's Oscar season. But that also means it's Razzie season.
Woo-woo.
Woo! I love the Razzies. Now, of course, the Razzies are never meant to be taken completely seriously. They're meant in fun, which is why sometimes some of the actors or writers or directors who are nominated for Razzies actually show up at the Razzies and graciously accept them. Halle Berry, of course, being the most notable of that. That was one of the classiest things I've ever seen in my life. Well, the distinction, the honor of the Razzie nominations have come out now. And wouldn't you know it, Joker Folie à Deux leads the pack with 7 nominations.
So deserved.
Yes, well done.
Deserved.
I wonder if-
Well done, Joker 2.
Can it go for the sweep?
Can it pull a Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, and take every single category? And by the way, a couple of other films nominated for 6 Razzies, including Madam Web. Congratulations to Madam Web for that as well. So
I
I
heard that's
thought,
not a bad movie.
Yeah.
oh no, it was quite delightful. It's really good. The title, the credits are all spelt correctly. It's amazing. So I thought it'd be fun here for us to take a second and go over the nominations for this year's Razzie Awards. And we're going to start off with the big one, Worst Picture. And the nominees are Borderlands, Folie à Deux, the Joker 2 movie, Madam Web, Megapolis, and Reagan. There's are your nominees for worst film of the year. How Craven the Hunter did. Wait, no, Craven came out this year, did it?
Craven came out this year.
It came out this year? Okay, I'll give you a pass. Are we sure it didn't come out in December?
No, it came out 2024.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I got to question the integrity here of the Razzies not nominating Craven, but still a prestigious lineup for the nominee.
Craven snubbed.
What's that?
Man, Craven
That's right.
snubbed.
Get that hashtag trending. Hashtag Craven snubbed. That's totally what should be on there. All right. Now we move into worst actor of the year.
All right.
And your nominees are Jack Black for Dear Santa, Zachary Levi for Harold and the Purple Crayon. I can happily tell you I did not see that movie. Joaquin Phoenix for The Joker, trying to become one of those rare performers that has both an Oscar and a Razzie. Dennis Quaid for Reagan, and Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted. You know, I totally forgot Unfrosted came out in 2024.
That movie was so bad.
And is a major Jerry Seinfeld lover. Well deserved.
Yeah.
I say this as somebody who loves Jerry Seinfeld. A well-deserved nomination. All right. Worst actress.
Best worst. All right.
Cate Blanchett for Borderlands, also trying to become a Oscar Razzie winner. Lady Gaga for Joker Folie à Deux. Bryce Dallas Howard for Argyle.
Oof.
It breaks my heart to say that because everybody knows how much I love Bryce Dallas Howard. But yeah, woof. Dakota Johnson for Madam Web, and Jennifer Lopez for Atlas.
Oh, yeah.
Multi-time nominee, Jennifer Lopez. All right. Worst supporting actor, Jack Black again, being nominated twice this year. Well done to Jack
What
Black.
a prestigious moment for him.
For Borderlands, Kevin Hart for Borderlands, Shia LaBeouf in Megalopolis, Tahar Rahman for Madam Web.
Borderlands has a 40% chance there.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a good shot at this. And John Voight for Megapolis. All right. Worst Supporting Actress. Another Academy Award winner, Ariana DeBose for Argyle and Kraven the Hunter.
Okay, so Kraven got some
Kraven
love.
getting a little
Okay.
bit of love, if you will.
Maybe they'll get it for the screenwriting. Okay.
Yeah. Leslie Ann Down for Reagan. Emma Roberts for Madam Web. Amy Schumer for Unfrosted. And I don't even know who this is.
I want to know.
I think
Bucket Twigs? I don't know.
Twigs.
I have no idea who that is.
Isn't that an Elon Musk former flame?
FKA.
Is it?
I'm not sure. Am I correct, Chad, or am I thinking of
Or
somebody
is that the name of his
else?
toupee?
Oh, I might be thinking of someone else.
Okay.
Twigs was in the Crow.
Yeah.
So
and,
that's how I see them. Okay,
and
now I know.
appears
There we
somebody
go. There we
lines
go.
that saying
Okay.
Shia LaBeouf's ex. So there you go.
Well,
Worst Director of the Year.
okay.
S.J. Clarkson for Madam Web. Francis Ford Coppola. It sounds
Can't you-
so wrong to
I
say
know.
that
How did
name
that
in the
ever
Razzies. Francis Ford Coppola for Megapolis. Todd Phillips for Joker Folie à Deux. Eli Roth for Borderlands. And Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted.
You know, I think Todd Phillips just deserves the L on this one.
I think, I mean, this could be a sweep. This could be a Joker 2 sweep, this thing here. All right. Worst screen combo. Any two obnoxious characters from Borderlands. Also nominated, any two unfunny comedic actors in Unfrosted. The entire cast of Megalopolis. Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga for Joker Folie à Deux. And Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller as Ronnie and Nancy in Reagan.
This is like the most cynical and most lazy category. Any two. Just for you to pick a couple.
Any two obnoxious characters.
Those two over there.
Especially Jack Black from Borderlands. All right. Worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. The Crow, Joker Folie à Deux, Kraven the Hunter, Mufasa the Lion King, and Rebel Moon 2 Scargiver.
Oh, it's got to go.
By the way, there is a horrible lack of representation for Rebel Moon 2, the Scargiver. on this
Yeah.
list.
Rebel 2's got to take this one.
It needs more recognition in this.
Wait, how is Kraven a remake, a prequel, or a sequel, or a ripoff? It's his own original story. I mean, it's based on something, but I mean, it's not. This is a weird category.
I guess because it kind of shares the universe in a
I
way.
guess.
That's the thing. It's so bad, it didn't even fit into its own category.
They're like, you know what? Screw that movie. Put it in this one too.
Just drop it in here. All right. And then the final one, worst screenplay. Joker 2, Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web, Megalopolis, and Reagan.
Why did Reagan get the THR badge?
Yeah, I was wondering why did they put that
They're like,
there?
this one, look here.
I think that's an HTML error. They might
Yeah. I think on the writing, it's got to be Madam Web, probably.
Madam Web across the board for me.
I think, yeah, Madam Web for writing for me. But let's go down through this quick. I'll just give you my picks.
Yeah.
So worst picture, Borderlands, Joker, Madam Web, Megalopolis, and Reagan. I got to say Joker Folie à Deux. I actually think it's worse than Madam Web.
Fair.
Because it was trying to be so much more.
See, that's why I'd give it something. Well, you tried something at least. Whereas Madam Web, I will say, if you view it as a weird 2002 time capsule, I guess this is kind of what we were going for with superhero movies during this time, but also this is trash.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whoever they announce, I fully endorse.
Yeah.
I fully endorse.
All well deserved.
But I'll give my vote to Joker. Worst actor,
Yeah.
I'm going to go Jerry Seinfeld in Unfrosted.
Quite bad.
Again, and I say this as somebody who desperately loves Jerry Seinfeld. I love Jerry, but yeah, totally awful. Worst actress? I think she's really good, but Dakota Johnson was so fuck you, give me a paycheck in this movie.
Wouldn't you be, though?
Wouldn't we all? I mean, what? I mean, the performance was just so bad. I mean, at least Bryce Dallas Howard. And it's awful. I mean, you couldn't even make Academy Award winner Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell, yeah.
You couldn't even make Sam Rockwell look good. That movie was so bad. Even he looked bad in it.
Man.
But at least Bryce Dallas Howard, you could tell she was trying to make something out of it.
She was really trying to sell those skates. She was really trying to sell those skates.
Don't even get me started.
This works. Believe me. Acting.
Don't even get me started on the... Oh, that scene is so bad. Okay, supporting actor... I'm going to go, yeah, I really like Kevin Hart, but Kevin Hart in Borderlands was, yeah, not his best work. Worst supporting, I've got to go Amy Schumer in Unfrosted.
Okay.
Worst director, Todd Phillips for Joker.
Yeah.
Worst screen combo, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga in Joker 2. I mean, that they try to create fire, and it was, instead of fire, it was leftover sperm on a movie theater seat. It was just the complete opposite of fire. It not even fresh sperm, leftover sperm on a movie seat. Anyway,
Water? Isn't it a lack of oxygen?
Just
nope.
I'm really trying to choke back the vomit in this moment right now. It's like,
so yes, that is for a prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. I got to go Kraven the Hunter because I think that's the worst movie I've seen in years. So I got to go to that.
Yeah.
And then screenplay, I agree with
it doesn't even
Chris.
fit in that, but okay.
I agree
Madame
with Chris. Worst screenplay, Madam Web.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a badly written movie.
So terrible.
Again, I know I say it every time we bring up Madam Web, but the whole crux of the movie is this guy has a vision of these three girls in the future killing him in his apartment. So instead of just moving out of his apartment so that vision can't come true, he decides to embark on this big elaborate thing to find these girls while they're still children and murder them.
Kill them kids.
Kill them kids.
Yeah, solid plot.
You don't know how hard it is to find a good place in New York.
It's difficult.
it's-
Rent control? Come on, man.
Much easier just to kill the kids than move.
You can always
Anyway,
make more. It's fine.
I'll never get that. Guys, question is for you. What do you think of this prestigious rundown and Joker 2 leading the way with 7 nominations? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? A little trailer dropped this morning. Oh, no pun intended. For a movie called Drop. Every once in a while, it doesn't happen often, but a trailer drops where I go, I didn't even know this movie was coming. Drop, which you can see a screenshot of it here, is this new movie coming from the directors of one of my favorite little horror films of the past number of years, Happy Death Day. I adore that movie. And from Blumhouse, called Drop. And I gotta tell you, I love this trailer. I thought it was so weird and so Blumhouse. So Blumhouse. So the basic gist of it is this. Blumhouse and Platinum Dunes on Wednesday released the trailer for Drop, the mystery thriller directed by Happy Death Day and Freaky Helmer Christopher Landon. I liked Freaky too. The film hits theaters via Universal on April 11th. Megan Fahey, is it Fahey or Faye?
Probably just Faye.
I'll say Faye, plays Violet, a widow with a young son who is returning to the dating scene. Her first date is with Henry, played by Brandon Sklenar. Sklenar? Anyway, from It Ends With Us, at a swanky restaurant. Things are going well until anonymous threats start lighting up her phone from somewhere in the room, threatening that her family would be killed if she doesn't kill her date. Dun-dun-dum. This is a great premise.
It is.
This is a great premise. I am a sucker for these movies that do a little quick setup. It's like, oh my God, what do you do? What do you do?
Depending on the date.
Depending on how good or bad.
This could be a really quick movie.
Yeah. There have been some, listen, I went through a series of first dates when I first moved to LA before I met Anne, where this would have been a very easy resolution. Yep, no problem. Doom, But this looks really good, guys. This looks like a fun, lower budget. Again, coming from the director of Happy Death Day, which I absolutely adored. I thought this trailer was banger. Because remember, we always talk about what is the purpose of a trailer. The main goal of a trailer is to take your anticipation level, however high it is or however low it is, and bump it up a bit. I was not even aware of this film, and now I cannot wait for April 11th.
It's kind of a modern take on Phone Booth.
You know what? That's a good comparison. That's a
that.
really good analogy to it. So I think this trailer looked like a lot of, I mean, maybe the movie will be garbage, but the trailer has me hooked. I am now really interested in seeing it. Chris, you had a chance to see the trailer for Drop. What did you think about it?
I'm actually really excited about this.
Which says a lot because you're not into
I'm
the
not
scary
a
movies
horror
very much.
I thought you were going to be
no.
like, this ain't for me.
No, we have a topic of those later on.
Uh-oh.
But this is more psychological thriller. Absolutely. What do you do in this scenario? This is a scenario that you can have a kind of voyeuristic experience of, oh my gosh, what would I do in that specific instance? How would I handle that? Would I hurt this person who I'm just getting to know? Would I do everything in my power to save my family? Like, how do you handle all this? Who do you save? Who do you not? It kind of has some of the flavorings of what I wanted Trap to have.
Yeah, because that was another one that looked really, really good.
Yes.
I personally still didn't mind Trap, to be honest with you. I
It's
didn't like
just
it the way I
Act
hoped it would.
Act 3 is
Falls a
where it
little
went,
bit apart.
can we fix this? But overall, I enjoyed that one. I like a contained story. I'm an Agatha Christie fan. I like when things happen in one place. And I enjoy the idea of them being in this restaurant and then the family being right over there and just seeing everything from the phone. I like that a lot.
Keeps the budget under control.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you can focus on character and story and all the twists and turns. You don't need to have too many bells and whistles.
Yeah.
You just need to have great story ultimately, right?
Yeah.
You also have an incredible cast here. So Brandon, of course, from This Ends With Us, but most people are going to know him from 1923. That was his big breakout role.
Oh,
Playing
that's
one of
right.
the
He's
Duttons.
Harrison Ford's son.
Yes, he's Spencer on that.
He's the one in-
son who
He's like in Africa
they
or whatever.
spend way too much screen time on him pointlessly. But yes, he was really good at
He's
it.
really good at it, though. Megan, she was in White Lotus season 2. She also just recently did this Netflix show called The Perfect Couple. And she's really
Oh,
great in
that's
that.
right.
Yeah, she is really compelling in that.
I thought she was one of the girls from Sisters when I first saw her.
Oh, from Bad Sisters? She
Yeah, from Bad
does
Sisters,
kind of
yeah.
look like one of the sisters. But yeah, you've got great people. And then you have Violet Bean, I believe is her name. Violet Bean, yeah, she was Jessie Quick on The Flash. She's playing the babysitter on it.
Oh, that's
Yeah, she
why
looks familiar.
Yeah.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Because she's Barry's daughter from the future, right? Is that it?
The doctor's daughter.
The doctor's
believe.
daughter? It's been a while
think.
since I've seen it. I thought maybe she was
Wells's daughter.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah,
She
she's
kinda
great.
looked like that.
Well, I remember all my Flash actors because I auditioned against all of them. Every female speedster I read for. But I think this is really promising and looks fun and spooky. And, you know, it's a PG-13 rating, which makes me happy with horror because then I'm not going to see something too grotesque.
Oh, yeah, and listen, I'm fine with PG-13 on this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, you can do a lot of creepy, suspenseful things without having blushing, gushing blood come out,
Exactly.
or titties. I mean, that's not going to make it better.
Yeah.
It just is. It depends on what they're going for. And this, look, that trailer was totally PG-13, and it hooked me the way it is.
absolutely.
So I'm and I still will never understand that there are people out there who have this belief that R equals better. It does not. R is more applicable to some movies that are better suited to be R than not, sure, but
Well, I think it depends on the kind of horror you're after. If you
Yeah,
do want a
yeah.
very camp counselor gone wild slasher movie, then yeah, R. That makes sense because you do want titties and blood and everything like that. That's not really what I go to the movies for, so I like a more psychological feast.
anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about the trailer to Drop? It caught me out of nowhere, and I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. Now I find myself quite excited to see the movie. Whatever you guys thought about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen, we still have a couple of things we need to talk about, including kind of a surprise. Benedict Cumberbatch has now confirmed that Doctor Strange is not going to be in the next Avengers movie, and it looks like we might have a lead for the next Star Wars movie after Mandalorian. Ryan Gosling. I'm just Kenobi. I don't know. I made that up. Sorry. But before we get to those things, I regret saying that. I take it back. We're going to take a quick moment here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at PrizePicks. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Are you guys like me, both a movie and a sports fan? Well, if so, then you know that the playoffs are here and it's now or never. If you love football and want to add some real excitement to the games, let me tell you about PrizePicks, the best place for your daily fantasy sports. So here's how it works. It's super simple. You just pick more or less on player projections. Think Patrick Mahomes will throw more than 1.5 touchdowns this week, or maybe Lamar Jackson will get over 250 passing yards. Make your picks in less than a minute and take your shot at winning up to 1,000 times your cash. Ann and I have been having a blast using PrizePicks every weekend. It's simple, it's fun, and it just makes watching the games that much more exciting. Plus, PrizePicks puts you first. With easy, fast, secure withdrawals, you can get your winnings in as little as 15 minutes, and they make deposits even easier. And right now, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So don't wait. Download the app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 instantly after playing your first $5 lineup. That's right, play for just $5 and you get a $50 bonus instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, the last time we saw Doctor Strange, he was about to step through the portal with Clea. Was that her name?
Yes.
About to step through the portal with Clea and disappear. But did you know he was supposed to play, apparently, a significant, not headline, but a significant role in Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now, of course, Kang Dynasty, that whole idea has been tossed away, probably for the right move for them to get rid of it. And it had nothing to do with Jonathan Majors, but it was the right move for them to get away from Kang. So we got Avengers Doomsday coming up. And they've already said that we're going to have big casts in both Avengers Doomsday and especially in Secret Wars. So you would be forgiven, as would I, in assuming that Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, who is, as more and more characters leave the MCU, is becoming a much more prominent and important character in the MCU. But apparently, Benedict Cumberbatch has just confirmed that Doctor Strange himself is not going to be in Avengers Doomsday. This comes to us from the folks over at MovieWeb. Benedict Cumberbatch says, F it, reveals he won't be in the next Avengers movie. Everyone is wondering who the new Avengers are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and which group of heroes will band together to fight Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday. One name fans can rule out is Doctor Strange. As Benedict Cumberbatch reveals, he is not in the upcoming 2026 epic crossover. There is no need to panic. He's not leaving the MCU. In fact, he seemingly has a big role in the future of the franchise. While speaking with Variety, Benedict Cumberbatch let it slip that he is not in Avengers Doomsday. Is that a spoiler? Fuck it, the actor says, revealing that he is not returning for the fifth Avengers movie. Doctor Strange won't appear in Avengers Doomsday because, quote unquote, the character does not align with this part of the story, explains Cumberbatch. This is not because of a contract dispute, but because Doctor Strange will have a much more significant role in the following movie, Avengers Secret Wars, saying he is in a lot of the sequel. In terms of the MCU's future, Cumberbatch hits that despite his absence in Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Strange will be a major player. He said, he's quite central to where things might go, Cumberbatch says, stopping short of discussing when the third Doctor Strange movie might come out. So in some other articles I read about it, it was laid out that, again, Doctor Strange was going to be featured prominently in Kang Dynasty, but once they decided to rearrange their whole story path that they were going on, Doctor Strange just didn't fit in with it. So they decided to move Doctor Strange out. Now, how that will affect Avengers Doomsday is a really good question about, like, what is it about Doomsday that it's actually an important thing that Doctor Strange isn't there, right? Because unless it's important that he's not there, you would figure you just want to put in your most popular characters into an Avengers movie. Now, of course, Doctor Strange is not a member of the Avengers. He's made that pretty clear. But still, this is surprising to me. And it makes me wonder, too, if maybe the events of Doctor Strange 3 might have something to do with explaining why Strange can't be there in Doomsday. The more important thing, though, is what I would have been really shocked about is if they had said Doctor Strange isn't going to be in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Because they're throwing everything at the wall in that. Like, they're going to put everybody. I mean, hell, I don't think Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Hugh Jackman are going to be in there. But it's possible Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Hugh Jackman might be. I mean, they are literally going to be throwing everything at that. I mean, didn't Kevin Feige at one point say like 60 characters are going to be in it?
Something like that,
or
yeah.
something ridiculous like that. So
Probably
I am
9 more.
surprised. I'm surprised about this. And maybe it means they're actually putting story first and not just trying to cram in everybody that they can. Anyway, Chris, you read Benedict's comments here. Are you surprised he's not there? Does it make sense that he's not there? How big of a role do you think he's going to play in Secret Wars, given what we understand from the comic story?
Yeah.
How do you see this?
I actually like the idea of him no longer being in this because it does mean they are looking at their scripts and not trying to shoehorn in characters of, well, we had this plan for him, so let's try to figure it out here. And the Variety article does go on to have him say, too, that Doctor Strange is, quote, quite central to where things might go. They, being Marvel, I assume, are very open to discussing where we go next. What do you want to write? What do you want to, or who do you want to write and direct the next one? What part of the comic lore do you want to explore so that Strange can keep evolving? He's a very rich character to play. He's complex, contradictory, troubled, who's got these extraordinary abilities, so there's potent stuff to mess with. So they're obviously going to give him quite a bit of runway throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I feel like this just isn't the moment for him to be in the spotlight. We have Doctor Strange 3 in the works and everything. I will say, though, he could not be in the movie, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be in a mid or post credit.
Yeah, it's true.
I think he's just not going to play a central part to this particular story, perhaps. And then we have that little connecting thread moving on to this. Heck, we could even have Clea pop in there and say something about Strange. His presence doesn't have to be completely gone. He just isn't going to appear on screen. That's what I think.
Can they lose that third eye, please?
I hate it.
Third eye.
That just doesn't...
Go away.
I hate it so much.
You know what I hate about it?
Everything.
It just
It
doesn't...
should get a Razzie.
It doesn't look real. That's not good compositing.
Yeah, it just looks like
no,
That doesn't look like there's actually a third eye. It looks like a bad Photoshop.
it does.
With
And
a feather effect on
And
it.
also it was, oh my gosh, this horrible thing happened to me. And then the next time we cut to it, it's, no worries, I'm rocking the third
I don't
eye
know if
now.
you guys ever watch these. They're hysterical. Maybe it says more about my sense of humor, but it reminds me of the Thumb movies.
Oh, I loved that.
Where they just like they just superimpose the eyes and the face over the thumbs.
Those were great.
But I mean, the thing you brought up, Chris, about the fact that, listen, Doctor Strange doesn't need to physically be there in order to have a presence in the movie, right? We've seen that in other films where like a certain character isn't there, but the presence of the character is often felt or even discussed or talked about. So we'll see how that all kind of turns into that. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Benedict Cumberbatch is saying, I ain't in the next Avengers movie, but I'm going to be a big part of the one after that. Are you surprised to hear that? Do you think we might get Doctor Strange 3 before Avengers Secret Wars? Whatever you guys think right now, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down, before we get into our main topic here today, it's time for us to play a little game of What's More Likely.
Do.
I earlier jumped on our community tab and I asked you guys in our community if you have some What's More Likely scenarios you'd like to hear us address. We picked out a couple of them and we're going to get to them now as Jonathan reads them off to us. So Jonathan, what's our first one?
Okay, first up comes from Connor Reedson. So John, what's more likely, Dune 3 being mediocre or Avatar 3 being mediocre?
Ooh.
Oh, your favorite kids.
Yeah.
Everyone has one, though. Your
Well,
parents all
listen,
lie to you.
I'm not going to lie. I like Dune more than I like the Avatar movies.
Ooh, okay.
I think the Dune movies are better movies than the Avatar movies. And I say that as a fan of the Avatar movies. But it is more likely that Dune 3 will be mediocre. Only because the source material ain't that great. I'm sorry, everybody who's fan of that particular book, but it starts the slide that is Dune. And I have no reason to believe at all that the Avatar films are losing any speed. And I have no reason to believe, just based on the movies, that Dune is losing any speed. But again, it's just, I don't believe in the source material that much. Again, I think Denis Villeneuve will do what he has done. I think he will take it and adapt it heavily and hopefully overcome the weaknesses, what I perceive as the weaknesses of Dune Messiah, and make it into something better. But again, the question is, which is more likely to be mediocre? I don't think either of them will be, but I think it's more likely that the third Dune film will be, because of the source material. What do you think?
I'm going to go Avatar, actually. I completely
Ooh.
understand you on Dune. I also already don't love those movies. That's just me. I know. Everyone else likes them. And objectively, they're great. I love that for you guys. But I do think that the first Avatar was incredible. The second one was great. Not as good. I feel like we're going to go on that kind of trajectory here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe having some evil Fire Na'vi is going to be interesting, but it does feel very, are we already kind of playing this out potentially? So if I had to pick, I would do that one.
All right, what's next?
All right. From King Churros. I want to live in your nation. Chris, what's more likely? Secret Wars surpassing Endgame's box office record, or Avatar 3 surpassing Avatar 1's box office record?
Oh, yikes.
Boy, that's actually a tough one.
That is tough, because Secret Wars, it's kind of a domino effect, right? If we have to build up momentum again and see if we can break that previous record. And there's already been so much doubt on whether Marvel's delivering or not. I feel like that's going to do okay. I feel like, but Avatar's like a guaranteed people are going to go see it. I'm going to lead with my heart. Secret. We're going to go with Marvel.
Secret Wars wins?
Yeah, Secret Wars wins.
Okay.
Just, I'm going with what I love, not what's practical.
I have no doubt that the more likely film to achieve that is Secret Wars. And here's why. Infinity War was a jump up in the box office. Then Endgame was another jump up in the box office. The trajectory of the Avengers films are doing this. That doesn't automatically mean that the next ones will. I'm just saying that's the trajectory right now.
Sure.
Whereas Avatar 2 is one of the biggest films of all time, but it made less than the last Avatar. And so I think just that alone, I think that means it is more likely, not that either one will. Frankly, I don't think either one will. Mm-hmm. But if I had to pick one and say which one is more likely, I think Secret Wars is the more likely one.
That makes sense.
All right, what's next?
Okay, from Lunsford, Clay, John, Back to the Future reboot is more likely, or Back to the Future 4?
Ooh, you know what? No, this is easy. It's far more likely. And again, I don't think either will happen, but it is far more likely that a Back to the Future reboot happens. You can't get the cast back together again for Back to the Future 4. I mean, you could always do a Back to the Future 4 with just a small appearance by Doc Brown and Marty, just a small appearance, but it's really about Marty and his girlfriend's kids.
It's your kids, Marty.
It's your kids, Marty. It's that becomes back to, I mean, you could do that. So I don't think there's really any chance in the world for Back to the Future 4. So I would say it's more likely we get a Back to the Future reboot.
I agree with that. I think that's much more likely.
All right, what's next?
All right. Next up, we got the theoretical mutant. So, Chris, who's more likely to become the more iconic villain on screen? Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, or RDJ as Dr. Doom?
My hope is Nick Hoult.
I know.
My hope is Nicholas.
Because we know, right? We know what RDJ can do.
I know what he can do, and maybe he's going to blow my mind and deliver something so other than himself as Doom, but Lex Luthor.
Wow, this is a good one. I'm also going to say Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, now don't get me wrong, I am one of the guys who correctly has been saying that Robert Downey Jr.'s casting as Dr. Doom is a stroke of genius.
And I am a dum-dum.
So, but even though I'm saying that, and I believe that entirely, it's a stroke of genius to cast him in this. I think one of the things that will preclude him from becoming the more iconic villain is people will still look at him and see Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. And his own success is going to bite him in the ass a little bit. I still think he's going to be great. I think it's going to be wonderful. But I think that puts Nicholas Hoult in a position where he really can't. I mean, there's no ceiling for how iconic he could become theoretically as Lex Luthor. So for that reason, I think they're both going to be awesome. I think they're both going to be great, but I think it is more likely that Nicholas Hoult becomes the more iconic villain as Lex Luthor. I mean, for all we know, the movie's going to suck, but I mean, that's what I'll say for now. All right, guys. And that'll wrap up today's little delve into what's more likely. Thank you to everybody who sent in their scenarios for us. And now it's time for us to move on to our main topic here today. And that is this. You know, I was literally in a meeting in Las Vegas yesterday when my phone pinged and I looked down. I get certain alerts when certain news items come up, they get a certain amount of attention. And I looked down and I saw this. Ryan Gosling in talks to star in Shawn Levy's Star Wars movie. Now, before we even get into the article, I just kind of want to point out that when something like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety report of an actor being in talks, 95% of the time, not 100, but about 95% of the time, that then becomes locked. Because you got to understand, by the time they get to the point of them negotiating the contract, it's already been established that the studio wants this actor and the actor wants the role. That means they've already gone through everything. They've picked, yep, this is the actor we want. Yes, I want this role. Now they just got to figure out and work out the details and get that done. Now, it doesn't work out every single time. There have been some examples when it's gotten to that point and then it doesn't work out, but most of the time it does. So for now, we're just going to go on the assumption that this is going to happen if the movie itself even happens. But IndieWire writes the following on this. Ryan Gosling is in talks to star in a new Star Wars film, this one from director Shawn Levy, according to multiple media reports representing one of the first major developments in the feature film plans for the Star Wars brand. Levy's project has been in development for years, all the way back to 2022, with others being added to the overall slate since then. But with Gosling potentially joining the galaxy far, far away, it's a big shot in the arm for the franchise and makes it likely this would be the next feature film to go. Lucasfilm and reps for Gosling did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. All right. Let's get this part out of the way first. It is most likely this movie will never happen because we don't get to have movies because we're Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And when they are going to put a movie out, it's just an extension of one of their TV shows. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to seeing Mandalorian and everything, but it's just an extension of the TV show. They're just doing this instead of Mandalorian season 4. So we don't get to have nice things. We've had probably a dozen projects announced and canceled. And so let's just get out of the way that this will probably never happen because the universe hates us. All right. That being said, Shawn Levy being announced to do a Star Wars film was one of the more exciting moments for me. Not because I think Levy is a top 5 director, best director in the world. I think he's fantastic, but I don't think he's like a top 5 best director in the world. But because I think he's a great fit. I think his sensibilities and the way he's able to craft stories, I think would be a marvelous fit for the Star Wars universe. Let's just look at a bunch of the films he's done in the last 20 years. Night at the Museums, which, listen, say what you will, those have been massively successful and have great cult followings. A hugely underrated comedy, Date Night. I love that movie.
That movie's super
I
fun.
think that movie is wonderful. Then one of his best movies, Real Steel. If you guys haven't seen Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, which I think was the first film he did with Hugh Jackman, it's a marvelous film. I absolutely love that. Then he did The Internship, which I didn't love, but was cute. I kind of dug it. I really like This Is Where I Leave You. I never really watched The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. He only did one episode of that. Then he did Free Guy, which you guys know I loved Free Guy. I passionately love that film. Then he did The Adam Project, which was way better than it had any business being a Netflix movie. That movie was great. He's a big senior producer and he's directed like 8 episodes of Stranger Things. And then, of course, most recently he did Deadpool and Wolverine. I just think he has got an absolute right kind of tone for Star Wars. I think he'd be great to do it. Match that up with one of the best actors in the business today, Ryan Gosling. I mean, I think this would be great. Now, the only thing we really know about Shawn Levy's Star Wars project is that it's not connected to the Skywalker saga.
Thank
Which,
God.
thank God, is right. Like, expand the universe, please. Right? Tell us stories from different corners of the Star Wars universe.
He's related to Kenobi, so yeah, this is good.
Yeah, he's actually Obi-Wan's
So
little
we're
brother.
breaking out.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a Kenobi.
he's absolutely a Kenobi. Second nephew twice removed.
Makes sense.
But either way, it's got to be tied in, right? So, look, the one thing that gets me naively optimistic is that we never got any casting announcements for Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron.
True.
It never got to that point. We never got any casting news from Kevin Feige's Star Wars project. We never got any casting news from Taika Waititi's Star Wars project, all of which are never happening. We've never gotten to this point. The last time we did was for a Mandalorian movie, and that movie's actually in production.
And it was baked in.
Yeah, it was baked in,
cast.
but then we even found out about other people
Yeah.
joining the cast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last time that happened, we actually ended up getting the movie. Don't get me wrong, I'm not naive enough to believe this is actually going to happen, but it's the highest chance we have of a movie actually happening. I mean, even, Mangold, who's about to have a bunch of Oscar nominations this year, even his movie, he hasn't even written it yet. So that may or may not ever happen. But it sounds like this Shawn Levy one might actually be in motion, and it's close enough that they're actually attaching talent to it. Maybe I'm naive, but it gives me a little bit of hope. Anyway, Chris, I love the idea of Shawn Levy doing a film, and I love the idea of Ryan Gosling starring in it.
Same.
So if this works out, and we all know it won't, but if it does, this is going to make me very happy. What do you think about the news?
Oh, I think if this is a real thing, then this is a really great pairing. I think one of the things that Ryan Gosling handles so well, and I don't know why people didn't realize it until Barbie, is he's so great with humor, particularly when he's the frustrated guy. He does affable nitwit really, really well, but when he is the frustrated, God, I don't want to deal with this guy, it's so fun. If you look at Crazy Stupid Love, if you look at Nice Guys.
So good in Crazy Stupid
He's
Love.
tremendous in that film. Nice Guys, which is so underrated. He's wonderful in that. If you look at him in Fall Guy, right, of just, I can't believe I have to be the one to deal with all this. And I love that energy for a Star Wars film. And Shawn Levy does such a great job of balancing heart and humor. And I feel like you could do a really interesting story that has a very charismatic, maybe a little potentially slimy, spice trader or something of that nature. We could go into something else that isn't all Jedi and Sith here. We could do a really fun story, kind of like what we've been getting on the Disney Plus shows, where we're not necessarily following Jedi specifically. We're following some tertiary events around them. And I think you could tell a really cool story with a very likable scoundrel. And I think the two of them would be a fun mix.
By the way, I should address this. Because this comes up a lot, and I'm not trying to center out our viewer, but our viewer Elf Song 713 in the live chat brings up something that I hear all the time. They're asking, why do they keep promoting Star Wars movies before they even have a script? I find that a lot of movie fans confuse a news organization finding out about something and breaking a story with a studio making an announcement. Lucasfilm, in this case, is not promoting a new Star Wars movie. They didn't put out a press release. They're not going out. It's a news organization with connections found out about this, that this was happening behind the scenes, and they broke the story. That's why a lot of times, people will ask, hey, whatever happened to that X movie that they announced? Well, they never announced X movie. That was some rumor that went around, right? But anyway, it's important to understand the difference between those two. So this is not a case. Now, unlike the Rogue Squadron one, which they absolutely announced and promoted before they had that movie going.
They're on a
They had
runway.
X-Wings on the ground.
Yes. So it's not like Lucasfilm hasn't done it. They have. But in this case, this isn't one of those situations. So Look, I don't know. Listen, maybe I'm just so desperate. Guys, we haven't had a Star Wars movie. And we're going on 6 fucking years.
That's wild.
It is inexcusable. I get it. When you fell on your face, you weren't able to close out the deal with the sequel trilogy. By the way, I'm still someone who really liked the first one. I liked The Force Awakens very much. But the films got progressively worse until they ended up with the crap fest that was Rise of Skywalker. So I got it. I understood it. When Bob Iger said, you know what? You need to take a step back. We need to kind of reevaluate. I get that. Take a year. Take 2. Maybe take 3 to reevaluate things. We are 6 years on, and we don't have, other than a season 4 of a TV show being brought to the big screen instead, we have not had a conceived of, initiated feature film of Star Wars in we are going on 6 years. And so maybe it's just me being overly optimistic and a bit naive and whatever, but I really hope this turns out to be true because I like the director a lot. I like the actor that they're talking about bringing in. And I love the idea of it not being connected to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Keep Dave Filoni away from, I like Dave Filoni very much, but keep him away from this movie because he'll for sure say, all right, but what scenes are we going to put Ahsoka in? Ahsoka's got to be in at least 30% of the movie. Anyway, so I like the idea. I just hope it happens, but dear heavens, just please make something happen.
It's going to be a raid on Camino.
Gotta remember this part, everybody. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this? Do you believe in the skepticism that what's the point? They're never going to make another Star Wars movie. Or are you a little bit optimistic that, hey, it actually sounds like they're a little bit further along on this one? Do you like the idea of Shawn Levy doing the movie? Do you like the idea of Ryan Gosling, good Canadian kid, by the way, bring a little bit of that Maple Leaf to the galaxy far, far away? Do you like the idea of him being connected to it? Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the main part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, every January is like a blank slate, 365 pages waiting for you to fill them in. Perhaps it's time to rewrite a chapter that's been holding you back. Life isn't about resolutions that fade, it's about becoming the author of your own life story. And in writing that story, therapy can be your trusted editorial partner, helping you craft meaningful chapters, build resilience, and empower you to live the life that you've always envisioned. Therapy can help you learn positive coping skills, set boundaries, and become your best self. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers fully online therapy, making it affordable and convenient. With over 30,000 licensed therapists specializing in diverse needs, you can find somebody who truly understands your story. You can even switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. You know, I often hear from some of our viewers who talk about having some real struggles and challenges over the last couple of years. Well, listen, we commit ourselves to getting more physically strong and healthy by going to the gym. It's time for us to commit to getting more mentally and emotionally strong by getting involved in therapy. So write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, we got Morse Code. Says the father-son movie question from yesterday made me think of one many forget touches the topic, Field of Dreams. I love Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams it's such a special movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and I say this as somebody who's not the biggest baseball fan in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think that movie is just great. I don't know why. I think baseball is the least interesting sport.
I love it.
But in the realm of sports movies,
great stories, right?
They make baseball background, like sports movies that have baseball as their foundation, tend to make the best sports movies.
Because it's an analytical game.
Yeah.
It's not just, bash them up. I think basketball movies make great movies too, though. Like Hoosiers and other films.
Oh,
like that.
yeah. I forgot about Hoosiers with Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Your name. If you believe Millie Alcock is great in House of Dragons, you need to check her out in the Aussie series Upright. Before House of Dragons aired, the show was once available on AMC Plus channel on Amazon Prime.
You know,
Never
it
heard
was somebody different, but somebody sent in an almost identical question of that, saying, hey, if you like her in this, you got to see her in this. And I had never even heard of that series before. And by the way, I've never had AMC Plus. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know how to get AMC Plus.
Yeah, you have to access it on Prime now.
Oh, is that how you get it
Yeah.
now? It is like the one streaming service that I never had, which is why one of the shows everybody talks about that is really good is Interview with the Vampire. I've never seen it because it was on AMC and I didn't even know how to get it. Apparently you can watch it someplace else now. I'll have to try to catch up on it.
I think if Paramount Plus ever goes the way of like what Sony wants to do with licensing and that's done, maybe I'll put my money towards AMC Plus.
All right, what's next?
We got Juan Diego who says, "Hi John, did you have the chance to play the Dune board game? I asked you about it last year."
No.
Yeah.
No, I did. Ann and I went out and because the Dune movies are now like other than Tom Hanks's Big, the Dune movies are now my wife's all-time favorite movies. So of course we went out, we go to game shops a lot and she found this great Dune board game. I don't know if it was the one you're talking about, but we've never cracked it open.
Oh man.
We bought this huge elaborate and I think the game was like $80 and this big elaborate Dune board game, but we've never had a chance to crack it open yet. So no, I have not. All right, what's next?
The video game looks promising.
The video game looks very promising.
Yeah. Carl Toons says, could it be that moviegoers that don't follow comic books think that a white cap is being replaced by a black cap, not knowing that it's just a version of cap and not permanent? Is it why the numbers are so low for Brave New World? It's not a woke thing. It's just original comic book material. I mean, I feel like you'd have to be willingly ignorant to not know that he's not playing Steve Rogers.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, nobody think. But I don't think that's what he's asking. I mean, because like obviously nobody thinks he's playing Steve Rogers, because they've watched the MCU, right? But I think you got to resist the temptation to make comparisons to the comic book. So for instance, the comic book's not permanent. Well, that doesn't mean it's not permanent in the MCU. The MCU and the comic books are two different things, right? And that's why, I've always understood, yes, I understand that at some point, different people have taken up the mantle of Captain America and stuff like that. But I don't care. That's the comic books. It's not the movies. In the movies, it doesn't work. That's why, when they were first started talking about Chris Evans maybe taking a leave for a while from there, I didn't like the idea of Bucky becoming Captain America or Sam becoming Captain America because neither Bucky nor Sam are Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America. So whether you know what happened in the comic books or not is irrelevant. It's irrelevant what happened in the comic books. It's what makes sense within this cinematic universe that they've set up. And now, again, I don't like the idea of somebody else becoming a character. No, the character is the character. Steve Rogers is Captain America. But that being said, I mentioned this the other day. I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier did a nice job of kind of setting up the transition of Sam from Falcon to the new Captain America. And I think this new movie looks good. And while I don't like the idea of them doing it at all, the fact of the matter is they're doing it. So I'm going to give it a shot and I'm going to go in it. And fortunately, it's being played by Anthony Mackie, who I think is terrific. And we'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
All right. Black Knight says, hello, everyone. What are your thoughts on David Fincher? When people talk about the best directors today, they often mention Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, Denis Villeneuve, etc., but they leave David Fincher aside.
Yeah, I don't think David Fincher belongs in the conversation of when you're talking about the top 3 best directors out there, but he's one of the upper echelon for sure. And it's really cool about him is he seems to be able to effortlessly sway between different storytelling formats, whether it's serialized streaming television or movies and stuff like that. He's definitely great, but I don't think he belongs in the conversation because so few do with Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve. That's the top of the top of the top. So, but I believe he's in that next shelf down. So he's in the upper crust. I just don't think he's in that best director in the world conversation.
Yeah.
But there are others who think he is, and that's totally understandable too. All right, what's next?
Cyan says, I'm interested to see how they play with the change they introduced in the first episode of Harley Quinn last week. Did you see the first episode of this season?
I did. I did. It was one of those pleasant surprise things because I didn't realize it was coming out. Like I knew we were getting another season and I knew it was coming at some point, but I didn't know it was imminently coming out.
Yeah, right on the heels of Creature Commando. So
yeah, so I pop open HBO for something else, and right there is new season, episode 1 of Harley Quinn. And they now moved to Metropolis. And they introduced Brainiac at the end of it. I listen, I love this show. I love Harley Quinn. For some reason, Kite Man didn't click with me.
Didn't work, huh?
And I loved the idea of them doing the Kite Man spinoff.
It's a fun character.
But it didn't click. The writing on it just wasn't, I don't know if it's the same writers or a split off group of writers. It just didn't click with me as much, but Harley Quinn picked right up where it left off. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
There we go. Cyan follows up, both John and Jonathan, do you have a pet peeve that takes you out of movies? One for me is when stock sound effects are used. They're very recognizable. Fire, lightning strike, metal door closing sounds that I hear all the time in movies. I mean, those I give a pass to because those things sound like that.
Yeah, I haven't. Sound effects never, unless the sound effect doesn't sound authentic.
There's one thing, if we're going to talk about sound effects, where it's not a pet peeve, it doesn't take me out, but more than a smirk, but a warehouse or a stadium, and someone flips a switch, and the lights go boom. Okay,
Yeah, they make
lights.
some
Lights don't wait
a minute.
The power thing will. If you're having the sound effect on like the generators or whatever and that big switch, those will make but the actual light bulbs don't go boom.
I remember in my grade school when we would go into the gymnasium and turn on the lights, it made an audible sound when it would do that. Like it wasn't not that like you're
It's like a
describing
big
it.
switch.
It's not that thunderous boom.
No.
Boom, boom, boom. Right? Not like that. But I remember after you threw the switch, they would definitely make a sound.
There's a
these
loud
old school,
yes,
old school lights, right? But it wasn't like thunderclap.
it's more of a loud switch sound, but.
All right, what's next?
All right, Cyan says, John, for the past few years, I have been listening. Every time you end the show, I can't help but hear your hidden shout out to Big Papa Iger. Until next time, my friends, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We've made plays on that bye-bye before, but yeah.
That's right. I mean, I didn't, but other people did.
Yeah.
See, bye-bye. Yeah, Big Papa Iger. Again, one of the most interesting things in entertainment right now is who is going to be the next CEO of Disney. Because Iger's, of course, positioning himself he's got the ship righted. I mean, he did it. It's done.
It was not long ago where people said, is Disney done?
Yeah, is Disney
and now
done?
It's like the 3 biggest films of the year.
And Iger came back in, and everybody thought it was so cool that Iger won't make any difference. Guess what he did? He turned the fucking ship around. Its stock prices have gone up. The movies are more successful. They're making positive moves. I mean, he just got that was his job. He was to come in, get the ship righted, and get the table set for the next successor. The biggest mistake, and it's in hindsight, that Bob Iger has made in his tenure as CEO was selecting Bob Chapek. And again, on paper, it looked like the right decision. I thought it was a good idea at first. When they announced Bob Chapek, I thought, you know what? That's a good hire. He's from inside the company. He's worked in all these different divisions in the company. He's a company guy. He's a good pick. Turns out we were all wrong. But yeah, Iger's really come in, and now they got to make sure they nail this successor. Because you ain't going to get Bob Iger to come out of retirement again after this. So they got to make sure they get the right pick here. All right, what's next?
We got David who says saw Sonic 4's release date was announced, and I realized we have gotten 3 Sonic films between the Batman and the Batman Part 2. I've also only seen the first Sonic movie, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I need to catch up. Hope you all have great days.
Is that true?
I'm going to look that up right now.
Wait a minute. Did the first Sonic come out after Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Okay, so Sonic the Hedgehog was 2020. No, the Batman.
Oh yeah, the Batman came out after that.
Came out in 2022.
Okay, so yeah, that's not true. We've had 2.
Sonic.
Well, but what he's saying is maybe that the third one is scheduled to come out before the next Batman. So in that case, we will.
We will have
Sonic
2, 3, and
movies, right?
4 because two came out in 22. It's the same as Batman. So yeah, if you get 2, 3, and then 4 before 2027, then yes, you'll have 3 in between.
Okay,
those.
so yes, you're right that since the first Batman, which was after the first Sonic, but since the first Batman, if the next Sonic movie comes out when they say it's coming out, we will have had 3 Sonic movies get produced and come out in theaters before the second Batman movie does.
And you're right. You know what? Because the Batman was March 1st, and the second Sonic was March 22nd or something like that. So yeah.
That's actually a really interesting thing. All right. What's next?
All right. We did David's here. Your name says in Skeleton Crew, did Jod attempt to kill Fern or scare her with that shot? I think scare.
I think scare. There were. That's the thing. Like there were many times that he easily could have killed any of the kids that he wanted to. Like even that time that he was taking back control. Remember, they're in the treasure room, and he puts the knife to her throat, and he's like, he could have just gone, okay, enough of this, just slit her throat, but he spent a lot of time just pleading with her, just yield, right? He could have killed them anytime he wanted. So my guess is he never intended to kill them.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, maybe we'll find out differently later on, but it seems like, he did kill people.
Yes.
But maybe killing these kids was a line he wasn't going to cross. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hey, John and crew, long time since 2012. The first time you guys joking, or first time, I guess he means tip. You guys joking about Zuko showing up in Fire and Ash got me thinking it would be pretty cool if Dante Bosco voiced a Na'vi character as a funny little nod to the name's elemental similarities of 2 projects.
I don't think they know.
Yeah.
You know what? And nobody would even notice it.
They wouldn't catch that.
Nobody would catch it. And I don't think James Cameron is at all has any brain cells of his preoccupied with the idea of how do we tie this into Avatar, The Last Airbender. I don't see them doing that at all. And again, even if they did it, I don't think anybody would recognize it. So probably not, but it is funny to think about though.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Alex Pitt, who says, now that Shrek 5 has moved to December of 2026, do you think Ice Age 6 will move? It's currently slated to release 5 days before Shrek 5. And do you have any anticipation for another Ice Age film? It can't be worse than the last one, right? I can't believe there's going to be 6.
I don't think the words in the English language exist that properly express my lack of interest in an Ice Age 6. Now, to be fair, I'm not the target audience. But who is asking for an Ice Age 6?
And the last one we had was 2016.
I mean, but hey, whatever. Do I think it moves? Probably. I mean, you can release movies close to each other and have them succeed and do well. We've seen that especially in the last couple of years. But man, I'll tell you what, trying to put out an animated feature film before the return of Shrek, that's a tall order, unless they're really overestimating the popularity of Ice Age. Or hey, listen, maybe I'm the one who's underestimating the popularity of Ice Age. I don't know, what did the last couple of Ice Age movies make at the box office?
I was just looking at the last one, Collision Course, was 408 million. Not bad for a budget.
That's way more than I thought it was going to be.
Whoa, the one before that made 877.
Right, but
I mean, it was,
then the one after that dropped in half,
yeah.
Right? And now it's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years since that. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand the idea.
It was on an upward trajectory, and then now it's peaked and come down. So, yeah, I don't know.
All right. What's next?
Andrew Bond says, hey, John, big fan. And first tip question.
Oh, thank you.
I know you said you fell off of the Bad Batch your first try. I did the same, but I gave it another go, and I can't recommend it enough. Great characters, great Star Wars lore. Feels a mix of Rebels and Clone Wars. Yeah,
listen, I have no interest. I gave Bad Batch a shot. Gave it a shot. I actually liked the first episode. I was surprised because I hated their appearance in Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. I didn't like them at all. So when they got their own spin-off show, I gave the first couple of episodes a shot, and I'm like, you know what? Not bad. and then it became crap. To me, it has its fans, and that's great. I'm not trying to talk anybody else into not liking it, but unfortunately for me, it just did not work. And there's too much stuff out there that I am excited about watching to waste my time to go back to something that couldn't win me over in the first place, even though I gave it a bit of a shot. So I'll probably never sit down and watch the rest of Bad Batch. But I mean, to everybody else who watched it and enjoyed it, great. It just wasn't for me. All right, what's next?
Ian McAllister says, in the new How to Train Your Dragon teaser, they showed a full look of the dragon in the arena with Hook Fang, and honestly, it's one of the best looking dragons in cinema, at least top 5.
I still have not seen that new little piece for it.
Quietly dropped. I don't get it.
But I'll tell you what, man, I am getting more and more excited for that. I remember when they first announced it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. That could be really cool. But once I saw that first trailer, and that moment, I actually got emotional. That moment with Hiccup holding out his hand and putting it on his head, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm hooked. I honestly can't wait to watch this. And I really like the fact that they brought in Gerard Butler to play his dad. He, of course, voiced the dad in the original one. But he's just a good fit for it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
Joe Mama says, an outlet I follow may have let slip that Matt Reeves may be taking on a larger role to DCU. I love Reeves, but this honestly concerns me with his constant delays and struggles to get projects completed. Tell me, John, am I worrying for nothing?
It all depends on what that role would be. Because I think Matt Reeves can be quite prolific as support, as a producer, in supporting and putting people in place for them to go and do the creative work. He's been quite prolific at that. Where I would get concerned is if you hand him 2 or 3 movies, we might be waiting 15 years for those movies, because he does have a tendency to take too long. And again, whenever I bring that up, people go, well, you want quality. There are two things. Having a quality project come out in a reasonable amount of time are not two mutually exclusive ideas. Once again, the Sonic films have been incredibly entertaining. And we're about to get 3 Sonic movies come out in between his 2 Batman movies. I'm not saying he should have had 3 or 4 Batman movies out by now. I'm just saying it would concern me a bit. But as a producer, as an overseer, as a shepherd, I wouldn't be concerned about it at all if he just gives his vision, but then other creative people who actually have to do the work then pick it up and go with it. It could be okay. But then again, I don't know that I believe that report is true at all. So, but I'm just saying theoretically, if it was, I don't think it's anything to worry about. All right, what's next?
Okay, and it says one of my favorite comedies of all time is the It Crowd or IT Crowd is getting shown on Disney. Stars Chris O'Dowd. It's famous in the UK. If you're looking to watch something that is silly with lots of humor, then I highly recommend this show. I've heard of it for sure.
I really like the It Crowd. The It Crowd is really funny. I don't think it's The Office level or Modern Family or Parks and Rec. I don't think it's on that level, but it's also it's a very low budget show too, but it was really clever. I liked it a lot. All right, what's next?
All right. Andy Nugent says, John asking us to be appropriate and then randomly dropping dirty jokes on the show will always kill me. Love you guys. Bring on the filthy.
Well, I mean,
but dirty jokes sometimes are appropriate.
Like when I say appropriate,
yeah, we mean like don't be hateful.
Well, yeah, don't be hateful. Don't go wildly off topic. John, I bought a 2012 Subaru, but I have the clutch is active. Don't laugh. That wasn't it specifically. I had a question come in once about a guy was having car problems. I mean, listen, the people watching my show, and see, that's also a little bit of a fine dance. This goes all the way back to the AMC days of understanding we want to answer people's questions, but also understanding that we have an audience watching, and is our audience going to be at all interested, even remotely, in that question? So like back in the AMC days, sometimes people write in very personal questions. John, I'm doing this specific thing. What should I do here? Mm-hmm. And then realizing this will have no interest to anybody else watching the show. And so when we say something we won't ask something, we won't read out a question or comment that isn't appropriate for the show. That can mean a number of things, whether it's wildly off topic, it's incredibly offensive, or, stuff like that, then we reserve the right to not answer it. That's why we're always very specific when you go to our tip link. You got to understand, we let people know when you send in a tip, you are not buying anything. You are not buying your question being read on the show.
Right.
You are sending in a tip to be supportive of our show. And as a response of gratitude for you supporting our show, if you have a question, because some people send in tips with no questions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sending in a tip and want to send in a question, then in gratitude, we're going to read off your question, provided it's appropriate. But we make it very clear you are not, because I've had people write in some pretty offensive stuff, just thinking we're going to read it on the show.
Yeah, it's like, and then they get mad that we don't. Like,
yeah,
I
then they get mad.
you.
I paid for that. No.
We're not.
It says very clearly, you're not buying a question being read on the show. You're sending in a tip to be supportive.
Yeah.
And then it's up to our prerogative if we want to read.
We're not trained
the
monkeys
thing you put in otherwise.
to dance when you want us to dance.
And one of the other big things, and like, God bless people who want to be creative, but so many times we've had people write in saying, John, I just finished an album, or I just finished this, or I just created this, or I just wrote my book. Here's a link to my thing. Thank you for checking it out. And they want me to read that on the show as if this is just a cheap way to do personal product promotion. It's like, no, hey, listen, if you want to sponsor the show and have your products promoted, I can give you the email address of our business and sponsorship manager, but you're not going to like how much it costs to do it. But anyway, yeah, that's always a kind of a weird line we're always kind of navigating. All right, what's next?
The Brutalista says, caught up with Severance, and the season 1 finale is something else. 40 minutes of heart-pumping suspense, a lean script, everything moves how you want it to move. Why is Ben Stiller's directorial contribution on this show so vastly overlooked? Fantastic stuff.
I think there's so many people who don't even understand he's the creator of the show.
Yeah, I honestly only learned that after season 1.
Yeah, it's one of the things that got me interested in the show initially was that. And by the way, they picked up in season 2. Great. That was, though, one of the best season finales. Like, because it was perfect. Because it was both, the end of season 1 was both a conclusion, because the innies are trying to get out.
Right.
And this whole thing about them plotting and figuring out a way to do it, and then they do it. But it's also a cliffhanger at the same time with the whole, she's alive. So it was both a conclusion and a cliffhanger. It was a brilliant season finale. And yeah, I'm really happy with how they picked up season 2.
I think eventually we're going to see, this is a guess, I don't know, but I think eventually we're going to see the Audis break in.
Oh, that would be interesting. I
That's
hadn't
just
even
a
thought
thought.
about that.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Okay, so Charlie says, I'm so excited for Oscar noms tomorrow, hoping for Nickel Boy's Best Picture nom. That movie was so good, but so sad. I need Clarence Macklin as supporting actor. I
don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, my 90-1 odds prediction is Mangold for Best Director. I feel the Academy might really love A Complete Unknown. I think so too. I like that movie a lot.
Let's put it this way. I'm going to be very surprised if he's not nominated tomorrow. And like, you guys, don't forget, tomorrow morning, Oscar nominations. Rob and I are going to be...
Very exciting.
Yeah, Rob and I are going to be breaking down the Oscar nominations tomorrow. So that's going to be a big one. But I fully believe we're going to see James Mangold directed. Just from looking at the responses and reading the tea leaves, he's going to get nominated. In a world now that we live in, where the Oscars now nominate 10 films... I can't imagine Nickel doesn't get nominated for Best Picture.
It better.
Now, in a world with like other award bodies where there's 5 nominees, or like in years past in the Oscars where they had 5 nominees for Best Picture, maybe not. But in a world where there's 10, I'll be surprised if it doesn't get one of those 10.
Yeah.
You know what's going to get a nomination and really shouldn't?
What's that?
Emilia Perez.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's not even a good movie.
But it's going to get nominated.
We've often talked about movies that didn't deserve a Best Picture nomination,
Sure.
but they were really good movies. Now, Emilia Perez isn't even a good movie. Like, I get it. They touch on some very important topics and issues, but just having a good topic or issue in your movie is pointless unless you execute it well and make it into a great narrative and make it a great engaging movie. Emilia Perez is not. I honestly do not understand the attention it's getting, like, at all. There are other movies, better movies, with similar themes and issues and tones that are just done much, much better. But I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Emilia Perez is one of the worst films of the year. I don't believe that at all. I'm just saying it's not a good movie, but well, whatever, to each their own. All right, what's next?
All right, I found one from Tron. One of them days is the first pleasant surprise of the year. It's hilarious. Keke Palmer and SZA are great together, and it has heart. We need to support more comedies like this. Also, Cat Williams needs to be in more films. He's fantastic. So this movie was sort of like I was aware of it, but I was like, okay, I don't know. I'll probably not see this, but it's getting great ratings, 96 and 91 on Rotten Tomatoes, and people seem to love it. So this has actually made my list. I'm seeing it.
Horribly undermarketed. I didn't even realize it was coming out. Like, I knew Keke Palmer had this project coming. I didn't even realize it was coming out in this block of months.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like 3 days before it came out, I finally saw a trailer for it. So listen, I like Keke Palmer very much. Guys, this is so an aside, but if you haven't seen her with Jimmy Fallon, and they did, what's the name of that game show they do? Password?
Oh, I think
Is that
so.
the name of it? I think that's the name of it. If I'm saying the wrong name, guys, in the live chat, let me know. But she is, like, you just get to see her personality on it, and she is so charming. Like, I like her so much. And I didn't even like Nope, but she's great in it. And so I'm very curious to see it. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I'm going to go see it. I've heard really good things about it. The ratings have been terrific. So, and I want to see Keke Palmer blow up. All right. What's next?
Okay, I'm going to move on to our member questions here. Lori Howard says, now that spoof comedy Naked Gun and Mystery Murder Knives Out are back, do you think an economical version of the Madcap, Cannonball Run, Scavenger Hunt, or Rat Race could be successful now? I was going to say, well, there's Rat Race, but she mentioned Rat Race, which is years ago.
I mean, it's years ago.
I think those films.
It's a race.
I know. He just jumps on the train.
It's a race. Pasta is. I love Rat Race. I don't know why I love it so
I
much,
loved it
but I
too.
do. It's so fun. No, I absolutely believe there's a place for those. The trick is making them really funny. Listen, guys, making comedy is so hard. Making comedy is so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then every once in a while you get a comedy like Joyride. That is honestly one of the funniest movies in years. And nobody went to go see it. It's kind of tough for great comedy because, number one, it's so hard to make comedy at all. And then even if you do make a great comedy, it's tough to get people to go out to comedies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tough one. But yes, I do think movies like that can work if the audiences will start giving these things a chance.
And you mentioned real quick, you mentioned Cannonball Run, you mentioned a Scavenger Hunt, Rat Race. If you like those types of movies and you've not seen
Any Which Way But Loose.
Any Which Way But Loose, but I was going to say, like, in my opinion, the original of like Cannonball Run style movies, there's 4 mads in the title. It's a mad world.
Yeah.
Check that out. It's older, but it's great.
All right, what's next?
Culture Wars Diplomacy says, what's the greatest theme song for a movie ever written, and why was it Princess of the Universe by Queen for Highlander?
We're the princes of the universe. I don't think that's it, although I love that to it. Here we are, born to be kings. First of all, Highlander, one of the top 10 greatest movies ever made. Like movies that are specifically written for the movie. Like not just songs that were taken and dropped into a movie, but songs that were specifically written for the movie.
Yeah.
A couple come to mind. Ashes by Celine Dion for Deadpool 2 is remarkable. What was the name of that song? Remember, it won the Academy Award. I think it was awarded the year Jon Stewart hosted. It was the guy and the girl sang it.
Oh yes. Oh man, it was like a folk song.
Yeah, and it was beautiful.
And
It's
I
a
think they were Irish.
beautiful song.
Once. It's from the movie Once.
Thank you. That's right. That song was amazing.
Yeah.
Also, Go to A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga. What's the name of the song? Is it called Shallows or Shallow?
Shallow, I think.
That song is so great. That is really a great song. Yeah, there's a few of them, and I'm probably missing a bunch of them. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of them. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Sean Motley says, "Hey guys, I would just like to say thank you for all that you guys do. I listen to the show every day from work as it keeps me away from the office drama. As a Gen Xer who enjoys comics, animals, and most importantly, Star Wars, your show brings me joy."
Aw, thank you so much for that, man. And listen, when I created the very first movie podcast, the whole notion of it, and then when I created the format that we do on YouTube, the whole notion of it was, at the time, and there's nothing wrong with this, but most of the movie conversations out there were done from a very artistic point of view, I guess, an artistic merit point of view. And I just remember when me and my friends talk about movies, we sound more like sports fans when we're talking, right? And talking about movies. And I thought I wanted to do a movie show that was more like that, for good or for bad, right? And certainly my format is not for everybody. I acknowledge that. But I mean, I just wanted to make a show that I myself would watch. And that's a very myopic kind of approach, but it's one that I knew how to do, and it's one that worked, I think. And I wanted it to be the kind of show that could be a water cooler conversation kind of thing. And we've had certain degrees of successes and certain degrees of failures, but I mean, I've been doing it for over 20 years now. It seems to have worked out all right, but thank you so much for the kind words, man. I really appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Okay, the SB24 movie guy. Recently discussing Avatar 3 made me ponder what year, in quotes, would we be at without Lucas and Cameron pushing the technological envelope. 85, 95, 2010. Certainly they pushed Hollywood forward.
Oh my God. Like, I think people don't even understand how much George Lucas is single-handedly responsible for pushing the industry forward. Like, I think people understand that about James Cameron because it's highlighted often. But like George Lucas, and I'm not just talking about when it came out with The Phantom Menace. Like even before that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, cool.
Like even in the worlds, not just visual effects, the worlds of sound, how films are edited, how computers even came to be a part of the editing process.
Well, Industrial Light and Magic.
Well, and Industrial Light and Magic is like still the crown jewel. It's still the level and standard of excellence, right? And all the ways and then of course pushing the industry to adopt digital filmmaking. Other movies had done it, but his Star Wars films were like the first big major ones to actually shoot on digital cameras instead of film.
Yeah, nonlinear editing was a massive step forward.
Like the stuff he has done to move, like forget Star Wars, like take Star Wars out of it. George Lucas is such an important figure in the history of film. Such an important figure, even if you don't take Star Wars into consideration. And a lot of people don't think about that. All right, what's next?
King Daddy says, "Hey crew, hope all is well. When I started Silo, don't take this the wrong way, but I didn't think Rebecca Ferguson could carry a story like this for me personally, but her acting has changed my way of thinking, and I really have been enjoying this show. Excited for season 3.
I still have not watched season 2.
Man, Steve Zahn in season 2 is great.
I really like season 1 a lot. So my wife has actually gotten tired of waiting for me. So when I was in Vegas for the last 48 hours, she got caught up on Silo season 2. She just couldn't wait for me any longer. And I totally understood that, but I got to get caught up on season 2, and she's terrific. Rebecca Ferguson is such a treasure. So yeah, I can't wait to watch season 2.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, one more, and then let's call it a day.
All right. This ties in for tomorrow nicely. Amin says, Oscar nominations tomorrow. Any bold predictions? We always get some surprises, and I think and pray Denis is going to get a nomination. Also, any chance we get a live reaction?
No fucking chance in hell I'm
Yeah.
doing a live reaction.
Yeah. We'll do it on the show after.
Because for us, I think that's like 5:30 in the morning.
It's pretty early.
Yeah, it's like 5:30 or 6 in the morning. I'm not getting up.
And then hoping people will even tune in at that early.
Yeah, I mean, well, on the East Coast, it's not
Even
going to be that
that's
bad because it's
8:30,
3-hour difference, but there is no chance in hell that I'm getting up to do a reaction. So no, we'll talk about it though on the show tomorrow.
yeah.
Definitely, we're going to talk about it on the show, and Rob's in tomorrow, so that's going to be fun. Listen, in a just world, Dune 2 wins all the Oscars. But in a Hollywood where with recency bias, because remember, Dune 2 was originally supposed to come out in Oscar season of 2024.
Yeah.
Right? Or of 2023, I should say. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. But then the strikes and everything delayed the movie, and the movie had to move out of late 2023 in Oscar season and moved into the early part of 2024. And traditionally speaking, not all the time, but movies that come out early in the year pass out of thought for the Oscar voters. It's bullshit. It shouldn't. Because Dune 2 is the best movie of the year. It's the best movie of the last 10 years, in my opinion. But it's just gone out of thought, out of mind. There's just too many hot things that have come out since. And I don't know that Denis is going to get a nomination. He totally should, and he should totally win. But I don't think they will.
Yeah.
It'll get nominated for Best Picture because there's 10 nominees.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that Denis is going to get nominated. I don't think so. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to join us tomorrow. It's Oscar announcement day. So stoked about it. We're looking forward to talking about it. Hope you guys will be here too. So for the departed on the road right now, Chris Carr, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys tomorrow.
My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.